What is up, you guys? Welcome to the video. So as we near the end of 2020 here, I thought it would be interesting to look back at some of the moments and some of the highlights that really defined the EDM industry, whether for good or for bad. For those of you who don't know, I have a podcast called Rave Culture Cast that comes out every single Wednesday. And at the very end, I do a segment called EDM News. And this is where I highlight things that are making the headlines and I discuss them just to keep people up to date with what's going on. So what I decided to do was I went back through all of my episodes and I put together a list of the best moments of the year, some things that really stuck out to me that honestly really got us through 2020, and then I highlighted some of the worst, and I just thought we would talk about it in today's video. So I'm gonna start out with the best. I like to start out on a high note, and then we're gonna save some of the not so great stuff for the end of the video, so definitely stick around. And if you guys are new here and you love talking about EDM and music festivals and all that fun stuff, definitely hit the subscribe button down below and come join the family here. Okay, so let's jump into the best news of 2020. So these aren't really in any particular order, but I'm gonna start out with the introduction of drive-in events. Now, obviously, given this pandemic, we were robbed of live events this year, which I will save for the worst portion, but we were lucky enough to see drive-in raves and EDM shows pop up in the United States. So I believe the first one popped up in Germany, and I remember thinking, I wonder when the US will adapt to this format as well, and lucky enough, we were able to have a couple, depending on what state you live in. I know Texas, Arizona, California, I know Chicago had some have been in Pennsylvania. I unfortunately have gone to no live events this year. I live in New Jersey and there haven't really been any around here, but I think it was amazing and a huge highlight of 2020 that we were able to have drive-in events. On the flip side, I think the introduction, and I would say more wide use of live streaming events, have been a complete lifesaver. I know at this point we might be a little fatigued about them, but just put yourself back in March and April and May when live streams were a lifesaver. So Insomniac events did so many well-produced live stream events. There was the Digital Mirage, Room Service Festival, Brownies and Lemonade put on amazing ones, and it was really, really cool. These companies got so creative, and it also was very intimate. I feel like this year we got to see another side of some of our favorite artists because we were invited into their homes, and they were putting on performances in their living rooms, underwater in their pools, and all different kinds of places. So I thought live stream events were really, really cool this year. And the best part is a lot of them raised money for COVID relief, for the Minnesota Freedom Fund or other Black Lives Matter causes, and for relief for people working in the live event industry. So that has been amazing to see. And while I'm talking about raising money, another highlight of 2020 was David Guetta putting on a performance in Miami where he raised over $700,000 for COVID relief. So I thought that was a really, really cool moment. Another huge, exciting moment, especially for bass music fans, was the announcement of Subsidia Records, which is Excision's new label. Not only did they announce this, but they did an amazing live stream event, and then they dropped 3 compilations with over 100 new songs on it from both big artists in the bass music industry and dubstep industry, and also smaller artists, newcomers, rising talent. It really gave a platform to all different types of artists, and this was all kinds of bass music, dubstep, rhythm, experimental, all kinds of things you can imagine. So that was a really reinvigorating moment, I would say, and it kind of is projecting into the future of what we're gonna see out of bass music artists. So that was a really, really big moment, and they're continuing to put out compilations, which is really cool. Another huge moment was seeing companies support the Black Lives Matter movement and actually making changes within the structure of their companies. So I know Live Nation was one. They announced the Black Tour Directory. This was a register to create work opportunities for Black workers and Black-owned companies in the music industry's live sector. And then Coachella also announced a division called GV Black. So this was the Black employees at Golden Voice coming together to form GV Black, and this was a team to help create initiatives to highlight the Black experience at our organization and expand representation of the Black community at Coachella. So to me, that was a huge highlight. A lot of these things, it's like, why didn't they exist before? But I feel like in 2020, the people really demanded that companies step up diversify their companies, make more opportunities for people of color, and I just thought it was amazing. So I wanted to highlight those companies because I thought those were two moments that really stood out to me. A very, very big moment for me personally was Insomniac announcing a new division of their company, Insomniac East Coast, which we haven't really heard that much about since. Their first big announcement was EDC Orlando 2021, which will hopefully be in the clear because it's in November. But as an East Coast member of Insomniac, I was so excited. We don't have nearly enough electronic music festivals in the space, and to know that Insomniac might be putting more festivals and shows and more effort into the East Coast is really, really exciting. So I'm personally pumped about that. Insomniac also acquired some pretty famous venues in Washington, DC, which was a big announcement. So Insomniac made a lot of moves this year. Yes, there were some moments that were not the best for the company, but they did do a lot this year. They also took over Forbidden Kingdom, which is a festival that happens in February in Florida, so another East Coast festival. This is totally random, but I put this as a highlight. Rezz and Lucii dating. I was so here for love in 2020, and to see them dating and being so happy with each other, that made my heart happy. So I put that as a highlight of 2020. And lastly, some festival news that we got in 2020. We got the announcement of the Beyond Wonderland Gorge edition, which is so cool. I've never gone to that venue, but I've heard nothing but good things about the Gorge, and I know people love Beyond Wonderland, so that was really cool to hear about the expansion of that festival. And I know pre-pandemic, we were hearing from Pasquale that there were going to be all of these changes and that they were planning to expand a lot of the festivals, and I'm sure that that is going to get pushed back, but that was one announcement. The other one was that EDC was heading to Europe, and we found out that it was going to be in Portugal in June 2021, which is really, really cool. So I know a lot of people are excited about that one. And then lastly, we heard that Nocturnal Wonderland is going to be going back to Glen Helen in 2021, which is the location it's been at for I think like 20 years. And they had announced that this year in 2020 was going to be the last time it would be there, and then they were changing locations in 2021. However, they're going to keep it at the historic location for 2021, so I thought that was really exciting. So that was pretty much everything I had on my list. There were so many other amazing moments, you guys. I think so many artists stepped up this year, like I said, really supported each other, supported the live events industry. And I think this community, more than anything, proved how much it really is about the music. We don't need to have these live events. We don't need to party. We don't need to do all these things. Like, we can still come together and really just promote how much of a positive space the EDM industry is. So that to me in itself was a highlight, and I know when events come back, it will be even more amazing than they were before. But that's not to say there weren't some shifty moments in 2020. Let's talk about them. I'm not gonna spend much time here, but for me, probably the worst was festival season and basically live events being effectively canceled for all of 2020. Not only as fans were we not able to go to shows and do what we love, but you have so many people who are out of work in the live events industry, and we don't even have an answer as to when it will come back. Companies had to furlough a lot of their employees, so Live Nation and Insomniac, I think, furloughed about 50% of their staff, people who are still unemployed. And there just have been like rippling effects out of all of that, which has been horrible. So my heart personally goes out to anybody who lost their job this year. I just remember back to March when this was all going down, and I was planning to make a return to Ultra Music Festival, and I remember my group playing it like by ear, hour to hour. And first off, you know, we were like, let's pull out of the trip. You know, we won't go to Ultra, we'll just go to Miami Music Week. And we started buying up all these tickets to all the Miami Music Week events because we thought that those would happen. And then they just started getting shut down one by one, and we had to pull the plug. And then Ultra was the first of all of them to cancel. So I just remember that being such a nightmare. The next one I don't want to get into because it genuinely affected me very heavily, but Io's passing probably was the worst thing that happened this year. And we lost some other DJs. I know Cookie Monster passed and Eric Murillo passed, but Io's was recently, and that hit me heavily. I was he was one of my favorite artists, love him. I don't wanna get upset, but it just, mental health was a conversation that was like very prevalent this year, just in general for artists across the board. And it just felt like a very lonely year in 2020, and that's why I just try and promote like being connected to people online as much as you can. and still like celebrate the things you enjoy. But I'm getting off topic. Losing these incredible lives and these incredible artists this year was probably the hardest thing that we've had to endure. And my heart goes out to all of their family and friends and peers. And that's what I'll say on that. That easily was the worst news of 2020. And then lastly, we had quite a few artist scandals this year that came to a head. The first of which, and probably most shocking to the entire EDM industry, maybe not to people because there had been whisperings of things, but just in general, the news of Lauren Ashton, aka Bass Nectar's allegations of sexual assault and misconduct. He was accused basically of grooming young women, of having relations with young women, minors who were under the age of 18. The most damning of evidence that came out, I think there was a page called Evidence Against Bass Nectar that ended up coming out on Instagram with so many stories from so many different women from over the years of issues. And again, allegations of sexual misconduct against Lauren, who I believe is in his 40s now. I believe he's 42. The most damning of evidence was a voice recording that came out where he admitted to having sex with a girl who was 17 years old. And then after that, there was a lot of gaslighting on his behalf on the phone call. It was gross. The whole thing was gross. And then this all came to a head on July 3rd. Lauren announced that he was stepping back from his musical career and basically taking a look at everything. It was the weirdest statement ever. It both didn't really admit anything, but didn't really apologize for anything, but he didn't deny anything as well. It was very weird. I know Bass Nectar fans were very disappointed in him, but in general, and I'm gonna say this for the next few people I'm gonna talk about, don't have sex with minors. How about we start there? Okay. The next up was Space Jesus, who admitted to having sexual intercourse with, again, a minor who was 17 years old. He's admitted to unknowingly having sex with a 17-year-old. He was also accused of gross behavior like grooming underage women, feeding people drugs and alcohol to get them effed up, and other allegations of sexual misconduct that happened over the years. I know he was on the tour with Datsik when he went through a lot of the same stuff. So it's, again, the same kind of allegations over and over again from multiple people. I know that the artist Bleep Bloop spoke out against him and some other artists came forward, and it's kind of just like this behavior just gets ignored or brushed aside until enough people come forward and just say, this is not okay. You are a person in a position of power taking advantage of your fans, of underage women, and it's not okay, and we're not standing for it anymore. And as fans, we need to support people who are leading by example, who are good people at the end of the day, because there are so many people in this space who treat women with respect and aren't doing anything of the sorts, who aren't, you know, in their 40s hooking up with people who are under the age of 18. It just doesn't make any sense, and it's so inappropriate. And the third one was Graves. We found out in June that Graves also found himself in hot water following graphic allegations of sexual assault and rape by 2 women, one of which I know was a minor at the time. So he actually came forward and acknowledged the situation, kind of admitted to his faults and for causing harm to the victims, and said that he was going to be taking a step back as well to seek counseling to focus on becoming a better person. No charges were ever filed, but the allegations were pretty graphic against him, and he did speak out on it. So those were the 3 artists that kind of were in a lot of hot water. I know we also had an issue with Ikali at the end of the year, whose ex-fiance came forward with allegations of abuse that was all over Twitter. So it's just so disappointing at the end of the day, especially if you're a fan of these people, because just because you idolize them and love their music doesn't mean that they're a good person at the end of the day. And I think what we collectively took from all of this is, when live events come back, when shows come back, support the people who are treating their fans with respect, treating women with respect. They don't take advantage of the powerful position that they're in, and we need to lift up the creators who are leading by example. And with that being said, those are all of the moments that defined 2020, whether for the good or for the bad. But in my opinion, I like to focus on the good and highlight all of the amazing people, all of the amazing companies that really made this year what it was, because we really needed things like drive-in raves and live streams and raising money for COVID relief and Black Lives Matter. Like, we needed those things this year, and I really think that they brought us together as a community. So Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this video. And again, if you guys like the EDM news segment, I come out with them in every single podcast at the end. So definitely check out Rave Culture Cast. It comes out every single Wednesday. I also have a YouTube channel for Rave Culture Cast if you guys want to watch the interviews or check out weekly highlights. If you guys enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, I would love your feedback on this video. Let me know if you want to see more short EDM news segments on my channel, because I would be happy to include those as well. If you guys are new here, I would absolutely love it if you would hit the subscribe button down below, and you can follow along with me on social media at Kapotes on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. I wish you all a very happy new year, and here's to many, hopefully many exciting, fun, happy moments in 2021. Bye, guys.